Hi, friends. I'm Rebecca Faust, and this is What We Don't Say, where we have honest conversations about fear, patterns, growth, what it looks like to reconnect with yourself. In other words, things we experience but don't typically say out loud. I'm so glad you're here. Let's dive in. Last week, we talked about something that completely changed the way I think about failure. And I shared why I don't really believe failure exists anymore. Not because goals don't matter, and definitely not because I think we should stop setting big goals. It's actually the opposite. I want you to have ambitious goals. Write the book, run the marathon, become the CMO, the CFO, start the business, change careers, build the family, move cross country to a different country. Whatever your dream is, I want you to chase it. But I don't want you to become trapped by it. I don't want you to become so attached to one outcome or one version of success that you stop noticing everything the journey is trying to teach you. Because here's what I've seen, both for me and my clients. We high achievers are incredibly good at getting started. We're doers. If we decide to do something, we usually do it. The hard part for us isn't starting. The hard part is staying connected to ourselves while we're doing it. The hard part is continuing with intention instead of simply enduring. And I don't know about you, but I can be the best sufferer through something I said I was going to do. And for me, this is where experiments have become incredibly powerful. One of the things I notice most about us high achievers is that we're constantly judging ourselves. Did I make the right decision? Did I say the right thing? Did I do enough? Was I productive enough? Did I waste my time? Did I fail? It's like we're carrying around this invisible report card, grading ourselves all day long. And somewhere along the way, I realized I wasn't actually trying to help my clients become more successful, although that does happen. I was really trying to help them stop judging themselves every 5 minutes. Because when we're constantly judging, we stop exploring. We stop trying, we stop listening, we overplan, we wait, we play small, we delay. Not because we aren't capable, but because we're afraid of what getting it wrong might mean. I really want to pause here for a second because sometimes when I talk about slowing down or running trials, people sometimes assume I'm encouraging you to dream smaller. I want to be clear here because this matters. I'm not. I am absolutely not asking you to dream smaller. I work with and coach ambitious women. I love ambitious goals. Please keep dreaming big. I simply don't want you to lose yourself trying to achieve them. After my client says they have this goal they want to work on, one of my favorite phrases is, okay, so when it comes to this goal, what do you want to try first? And almost every time I say it, I can see my client's shoulders tense, even just a little, because their survival mechanism hears something completely different. It doesn't hear, let's learn. It hears, let's see where you can succeed. But that's never what I mean. When I say try, I mean something intentionally small or short term, a beginning, an ending. One question you're trying to answer first. That's it. You don't need to know exactly what you're going to learn. You only need to know that you're trying to learn something. Let's take one of my clients. This client, we had this session where she wanted to work on her evening and her morning routine. She really wanted to get to work earlier. She noticed and felt like her day was less rushed. She had more clarity when she started work earlier. So instead of deciding this is just who I am, we ran a trial. For the next 2 weeks, she shifted her evening routine. She stopped scrolling. She got to bed earlier. She also tried getting up earlier. 2 weeks later, when she came back, she said, well, that didn't work. It turns out she had done great with the nighttime routine. The mornings, unfortunately, or not so much. By her old definition, that was failure. End of story. But I didn't ask her, did it work? I asked, what did you discover? And that's when everything changed. She realized she didn't actually want to get to work earlier. She didn't want to spend any more hours there than she already was, no matter how much she loves it. What she wanted is relief from feeling like she's behind. Those are two very different things. Remember, wherever you go, there you are. You can still show up an hour early to work and feel behind. So the experiment didn't fail. It answered a different question than the one we thought we were asking. And honestly, that's so often what happens. I think one of the biggest mistakes we make as high achievers is deciding whether something worked before deciding what we've learned. Because if achievement is the only way something can be successful, we end up missing half the gifts life is trying to hand us. Honestly, most people know I am a morning person. What they may not know is that I'm always experimenting with my morning routine. Some seasons, running comes first. Some seasons, it's journaling. Others, meditation. And especially now, during pregnancy, everything has shifted again. I'm not looking for the perfect routine. I'm asking what serves me in this season or trimester, perhaps. And that's such a kinder question. Ironically, it's also been a much more effective question. I don't spend time beating myself up for not doing exactly the same thing morning in and morning out. I look for what's filling my cup, what's energizing me, what's restoring me, so I have the energy to keep going all day long. And it feels really good. I think the finish line is a place where we high achievers can get stuck. We can become so focused on reaching the finish line, we stop noticing ourselves along the way. Imagine someone training for a marathon, a 10K. They finally cross the finish line and immediately ask and think, okay, what next? I know you've done that. Instead of asking, who have I become? Who am I now? Because they were only looking to achieve mile marker 26.2. And I think we do this everywhere. I can't tell you how many people I've run into with promotions who are then talking about the next thing. Businesses, we do this in. Relationships, goals. We're so focused on getting there, crossing the finish line, getting the achievement, that we miss becoming someone new on the way. And sometimes we miss realizing that we've actually outgrown the goal we started with. And outgrowing a goal is not failure. I think that's huge growth. Children don't live this way. They explore. They ask, what happens if I try this? Somewhere along the way, we stopped exploring and started performing. I don't know about you, but I do not want to spend the rest of my life performing for other people. 4 decades was enough. Thank you. I want to stay curious. I've also noticed something else. Experiments, trials, they require uncertainty. And I actually think uncertainty gets a bad rep. We're going to talk about that next time. And sometimes experiments tell us to keep going. We're on the right path. While other times they point us in a completely different direction, as you saw with my client. That isn't failure, that's learning. We're going to come back to that too in an upcoming episode. Sometimes clients say to me, I just want the right answer. Tell me what the right answer is. And my first question is always, if you had the right answer, what would that give you? Typically, the answer is confidence, certainty, peace, relief. And then we get curious because maybe the experiment isn't really about finding the right answer, the right goal, the right achievement. Maybe it's about discovering that you can trust yourself even without one. So this podcast is about saying things out loud we don't typically talk about. As always, I try to leave you with some reflection questions and encourage you to say your answers out loud, even just to yourself, because things change when we hear ourselves say them out loud. I see this with my clients all the time. They say something and I say, okay, did you hear that? What does it sound like now that you've said it out loud? And if you're my client, I'm sure you're laughing now because you know that's happened. And you know it often is not what you're really thinking. The questions for this week are, where in your life are you grading yourself instead of exploring? Where have you become trapped by a goal instead of looking at what that goal has been trying to teach you? What experiment could you run this week simply to learn? Not to prove, not to achieve, just to learn. This week, please don't dream smaller. Dream as big as you want, as you can. Please also don't handcuff yourself to one version of how it has to happen. I invite you, instead of asking, how do I get this right, to try asking, what am I curious about? What might I learn? What would I try if I have to succeed? Give yourself one small trial this week. Not because it guarantees the outcome, but because it keeps you connected to yourself while you're moving towards it. Because I don't want you to stop chasing ambitious goals. The world needs you to chase ambitious goals. I just don't want you to lose yourself on the way there. So put down the report card, stay curious, start exploring. Thanks for being here. I'll see you next time. Be well.